right, welcome aboard, everybody. Another week of NBA chat today on the podcast. Manchild here, along with Boy Green Esden Jr. When we talk NBA, we talk with our good pal from Heavy.com. Today, brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it's always love at first slice. Let's welcome in the one, the Mr. Sean Deveney. Hello, Sean. How are you?
Hi, guys. Good morning to you.
With you. Hope you're hunkering down with the snow out there in good old Massachusetts. I am very happy to report since the last time we've come together, my basketball team has won 4 games in a row. We are now no longer behind Boy Green's little squad there from the greater Boston area. It's all tied up, locked up. And heck, Giannis is coming in to save us. Who's saving you, Boy Green? Who's saving you? All right, let's talk about the crazy trade rumors because it is getting hot and heavy right now, Sean. Milwaukee is obviously entertaining the possibility of trading a superstar, albeit one that right now is on the shelf. Let's talk about what's really happening and could something happen before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in the context that you mentioned, that's really been the missing link here is that the Bucks for years have been in a situation they probably should have considered trading Giannis, just given where they were and what their financial situation, what they've done with their draft picks. They've pretty much emptied the chamber. They've got nothing left. So it would make a lot of sense for them to go out and try to trade him. They've been reluctant to do that, which you can understand. Look, you've got this guy who's an icon and you're the Bucks, and it's hard to get players to come to Milwaukee. And here you've got this guy who, for 13, 14 years here has been, so fantastic. And so you can understand them not wanting to do that. But the fact that they are now willing to say, okay, we can't keep going like this is a big deal. Now, probably it would have been better if they had done that 2 weeks ago and given everybody a little more time. But the fact is these trades can come together very, very fast, as we saw with Luka Doncic last year. This is something that very much could happen by the trade deadlines. And a lot of the teams that are interested in getting Giannis would like it to happen before the trade deadline. And that's because of the aprons and the caps and all that stuff. So it would help them. It would help them in the summer in terms of building their team. So a lot of teams are going to push the Bucks to get this done sooner rather than later, even though the Bucks might want to wait till later.
All right, so what's the package? I'll play in New York Knicks land here for Manchild, do sandwich in between us. What does the package look like? Because Giannis, by all accounts, before the season, that was the team he wanted to play for, and there apparently was a limited window for the Knicks and Bucks to negotiate something. Nothing happened, so feel free to recap any of that if that pertains to anything now. And what would the package have to include in a potential trade there between?
Well, it would have to start with Karl Anthony Towns. That would have to be the deal, and it would have to be a situation where the Bucks are looking at themselves and saying, rather than going through a whole rebuild, let's take the guy who can keep us competitive right now, and that would be Karl Anthony Towns. So that's sort of it wouldn't necessarily be a 1-for-1. I think the Knicks would have to step up the offer in terms of that. But if you're the Bucks, if you want to stay competitive, then you build something around Cat. Maybe you send Miles Turner as well. And take back Bridges, something like that, where you're getting off some bad money. The Knicks don't have the picks that can be used to entice the Bucks, but they can do some financial things like that. We'll take Miles Turner and give you another good player in Bridges, and go from there. So something like that is now this is presuming that what Milwaukee wants here, we still don't know exactly what they're going to be looking for, that what they want is not to build for the future, but to continue to try to win right now. That's really the only chance the Knicks have of getting something done. If the Bucks want to build something for the future, the Knicks really can't help them.
So let's just put it this way. How likely is it that the Greek Freak is traded ahead of the deadline in your mind, if you had to put a percentage on it?
I would have said about 10%, or 10 to 25%, a week ago. But as things are moving, I would definitely move it up to, closer to 60, 70%. Like I said, I don't think the Bucks would rather wait, because a lot of these teams that don't have picks once the draft sort of resets, or once you get into that part of the year, you can start trading more draft picks. So the Bucks want to wait to where, hey, maybe we can get some future assets here. Whereas other teams, like I say, they really want to get this done now to avoid all the tax and the hard cap implications it would have over the summer. So the Warriors, the Heat, the Knicks, those are the teams that I'm hearing, which are the teams that we've been hearing for months now. And I don't think a lot has changed on that.
Going back to the Knicks here for a second, Sean, I mean, I think the Knicks, who always exuded desperation, it seemed that every time there was someone available and just wanted to give away everything, it feels to me like there's a little bit more of a steady hand here for the Knicks. We heard what their owner said a number of weeks back about where he thinks they should be. I don't know if I agree with him that they should be going to NBA Finals right now with this roster, but they have put together a very competitive roster. And to blow it up for one guy is literally going back to what the Knicks once were. So as much as I'm dying as a Knicks fan to see what Giannis would look like in that orange and blue, the fact of the matter is, if it means blowing up the current roster to the point where it's unrecognizable, and as you just said, there really aren't draft picks on the table to rebuild this in any quick fashion, then I'm not in favor of doing this. Give me your thought about the current state of the Knicks here.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a good point. And if I'm Leon Rose, then I'm making sure somebody has a check on James Dolan's phone. Because if you think back, you guys, we're old enough to remember that when they did the Carmelo Anthony trade, that was Dolan. Dolan pulled the trigger on that. The front office did not want to. And it was, they gave up way too much for Carmelo Anthony. And you'd have to be afraid of that happening again if I'm Leon Rose. So, that's something certainly to watch. But, I think you can get it. Look, you're going to have to lose Karl Anthony Towns. If you count that as being unrecognizable with the roster, then there's not going to be a discussion. That's going to happen. And given the way things have gone and the way he's fitting with this team, it might not be the worst thing if that's the main piece you've got to give up. My question is, okay, then what else? Do you have to give up Bridges as well? And take back a bad contract, that then you're getting into something that where it could really change the roster and change the feel of the team. But to me, there isn't a deal that the Knicks could put together, barring trading Jalen Brunson, that wouldn't make sense. I think Anunoby's off the table. I think Brunson's off the table. I think pretty much if it's Bridges, certainly it will be Karl Anthony Towns. Josh Hart, I wouldn't want to trade. I guess I would. But if it's Karl Anthony Towns and either Josh Hart or Bridges, like I said, I think trading Hart would be tough, but I think you'd have to do it if that was sort of if that was the all or nothing deal.
Okay. And Sean, that's where I'm at with Knicks roster construction. So Lurch is like, if it's an unrecognizable thing, it's something that he would be willing to do. But you have two ways to die: slow and painful, or quick and quick and flashy. Which, again, if you're the Knicks, what you've been doing has not been working for a long time. So why not, if you have a chance, which is what Giannis in theory provides, it gives you a jolt, it gives you a jump start. Every once in a while, we have moments in our life where we just have to go for it. And this is the Knicks' chance to go for it.
You want us to be ruined. That's the only reason you're saying
no,
that.
I agree.
You want us to return back to our old selves and do stupid things. We're not doing stupid things anymore.
I found that inspiring. I don't know. I'm about to rip my shirt off and go run in the snow. Thanks to Paul. But
I'll jump in and use a football analogy here, Sean.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Sean McDermott. I wouldn't have fired him. Okay.
Right.
So there you go. Okay.
Right.
I'd rather keep winning. I'd rather be in the playoffs. I'd rather be in the hunt. Okay. Than go from, that to horrible, which is the
so you would have stuck with
in this situation if the Knicks went over. Now, not based on what you said. If it's just a matter of Towns and one other player, and I don't want that player, by the way, to be Anunoby. He's off limits for me if I'm the GM.
I agree.
No way. He was rumored early. No chance. He's a great two-way player. Heart hurts, like you said. That's painful because he's kind of the heartbeat of the team, but I would do it, okay? And certainly I would do it for Bridges, but not Anunoby. He's too important.
Greek Freak is their best player. Lurch going, well, I wouldn't do this, but
like Paul. It's not
I'm the
just about
Bucks.
having superstars. You still have to play defense. You still have to be a good team. Okay.
Yeah,
You
but
still have to be a
I'm
good
the Bucks and
team.
I have Giannis. I'm not giving him up for a bag of
Oh, I
beans.
get it,
We got to dance a little
so
bit.
we're not good trade partners because I'm not making the trade with you if you ask me for insane things. And all those things are insane to me. We're not making those trades.
Oh,
Sean McDermott.
Well, but I mean, I guess the point that I'm making is that I don't think there is a trade that would be on the table that you consider insane. Because the Knicks don't have. So they don't have like a Cooper Flag on their roster who you can throw in as a low salary, as an $8-9 million player who's got this huge up. They don't have a big, huge upside guy, and everybody that they've got is sort of paid according to what they don't have any rookie scale contracts right now. And that's where you get into, are you going to wind up giving up, a real lot to get to, so a team like Houston, if they wind up putting in some of those young guys, whether it's Şengün or Thompson, that would be an overpay. Certainly the Spurs would be in a position to overpay with all their young talent. But I don't think the Knicks are in it because everybody's sort of paid where they're supposed to be. And that's why I think it would almost be impossible for them to put together a horrible deal. There's just no other, there's just nothing there that could make this, to me. You mentioned Anunoby. Like I said, I don't think he's on the table in this. So if it's a combination of Towns and either Bridges or Hart, I think the Knicks do that.
You know what scares the heck out of me, Sean?
What's
Could
that?
OKC get in the mix on this? Because they are a team with a lot of resources. They are a team that is currently constructed to win a championship. I mean, they could become the LA Dodgers, essentially, of the NBA if they were to make a trade and just give away some future assets and keep their whole roster in place. Is that even out there? Like, I'm glad I'm not hearing rumors of that because I don't want to watch the NBA for the next 5 years and just go, okay, check. Okay.
Yeah, and them and the two teams that I mentioned, when you talk to GMs, like that's what would be scary is if you wound up with Houston or San Antonio, and neither of those teams is in the market. They want to let their young guys grow and develop. They like what they've got, and they don't want to give up pieces and screw up the chemistry and all that stuff. They don't want to do that. So those teams are out. Oklahoma City, I've not heard being interested. There was some talk of it earlier in the year, but it's really never come back up. Certainly they could make it happen if they wanted to. But they would be in a situation where you've got his salary on the books now. You're going to have to give him extension. You've got all these young guys who are going to get extensions. It's not comparable to the Dodgers because you can't,
they run out of money.
Do the deferred payments. You can't, and you've got hard caps. It's different. So they're not really able to do that. They could get him, and it would benefit them probably for the next year or two. But then they'd have some real tough choices with letting Chet go or letting Jalen Williams go. There's just no way they could keep all those guys.
Sean, who is the biggest name, not name, Giannis Antetokounmpo, that could be moved at the trade deadline?
It's funny. Jimmy Butler could get traded in all this. When Jimmy Butler got hurt, one thing that the Warriors told him was, look, we're not going to trade you unless LeBron comes on the market or Giannis comes on the market. Then we'll have to have a discussion. So it'd be interesting to see if Golden State is very involved in all this, and would certainly talk about LeBron if the Lakers get there. And if LeBron gets there, LeBron has a no trade clause, so he would have to agree to it. But those are the two players. So it's possible that Jimmy Butler, if we see the Warriors pull off a blockbuster, that Jimmy Butler moves in one of those two deals. Other than that, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, not exactly big names anymore, but certainly guys who have had some sway in the past. They're certainly on the market. Michael Porter Jr. Is having a great year with the Nets. Is a guy who a lot of teams have interest in. Mentioned Miles Turner. Certainly the Bucks are open to try to do something with him, independent of what happens with Giannis. It's not like there's Andrew Wiggins is another guy in Miami. It's not like there's really A-list guys out there, but still we could see a lot of movement. And certainly if Giannis gets traded, that's a heck of a trade deadline.
Talking with our NBA insider, Sean Deveney, heavy.com. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital is our handle. Become part of our growing number of subscribers. Sean, I saw you subscribe. Thank you very much for being a subscriber to our channel. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it's always love at first slice. 30 seconds from Cam's, then we're right back with Sean.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about two of your favorites, their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
Back talking NBA with Sean Deveney from Heavy.com, Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Sean, I don't want to get you too worked up here in the middle of the interview, but I'm sure that you were a bit teary-eyed when you saw everything that the lovely, lovely Cleveland Cavaliers did for LeBron when he was in their building the other night. Give me your take on this very, very nice tribute that the Cavaliers decided to roll out, I guess expecting that perhaps it could be the last time that LeBron's in that building.
Yeah, I think there is an expectation that if and when LeBron decides to retire, he's not going to do the whole tour thing, and that he could. I think back to 2018 when he decided he was going to the Lakers. It was there was all this talk, and they would have to get somebody else there to lure him. He wasn't going to go by himself, and then he wound up sending out like just a statement that said, "I'm going to the Lakers." Like that was it. It was all this talk about what was going to be going on, all the bells and whistles, and there were none. He just sent out a statement and said, kind of completely different from 2010, what he did there. And I think that's how he wants it now. I don't think he wants a big TV show. The Cavs really did have to, make sure that if they were going to get him in the building, that they had to pay their respects, because there's no question that, what he did for that franchise and really for the league. I'll say this, anytime somebody bashes LeBron, go back to 2003. I was covering the league in 2003. I was at Game 4 of the NBA Finals that year. Was 73-68 was the final. The NBA was bleeding fans. LeBron came around and changed that. And really the Cavaliers were a joke of a franchise before he went there. So, really appropriate what the Cavs did. And, and I do hope he has some sort of tour. It doesn't have to be a great big thing, but, I think the league should really recognize just how much he has meant.
Sean, I might have missed this in the tribute, but did Dan Gilbert, did he have the letter for kind of like framed and
with the weird font with the comic font? Yeah, no,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
I think they forgot to put that part in.
One of my favorite all-time comedy bits, Sean, is Frank Caliendo's read as Morgan Freeman of the LeBron goodbye.
That's good.
Have you heard that? That is one of the great.
I have to go back and listen to that.
Oh my goodness! I mean,
it's been a while since I heard that.
Up my best Morgan Freeman. I mean, absolutely fantastic. Go watch it on YouTube, folks, if you haven't already. Frank Caliendo reading LeBron's letter as Morgan.
A dramatic
Freeman.
reading.
Right. It is fantastic. Every time I listen to it, I am in stitches. The one, the only Frank Caliendo. What a great guy. You mentioned the Lakers, so let me go back and circle back here. We're only 1 year removed. Is the Luka trade the worst trade in NBA history? I mean, obviously, this guy's in shape now. He seems fine. As a matter of fact, even with LeBron on the way out, the Lakers' future actually looks kind of bright because they have the guy to carry the torch. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's certainly we've seen the same issues with Luka that we've seen, when he was in Dallas. He's not a great defensive player. We know that. But they went to the finals with him. And I think that you can still win with a guy who isn't a great defensive player. It's tougher, but A, he can improve, and B, you can do things with that roster. Not that the Lakers necessarily, you need a rim protector, and they've never really had one. But yeah, I think they are in very, very good shape with Luka and with that trade. And the fact that the Mavericks really would welcome a trade of Anthony Davis. Here we are a year later, and they're already, they've had enough of this guy. You know, Charles Barkley calls him street clothes, and you can see why. I mean, he can't stay healthy. You know, I mean, and he's always been that way. And it's not like he hasn't had an Achilles tear or a blown out knee. It's an oblique injury here. It's a calf injury there. It's a wrist injury. It's always something with Anthony Davis. At some point, you say a guy's just they can't take it, and you know they're not they're not built for 82 games, and that certainly seems to be the case with Anthony Davis. So you know you put all that together, the best thing that the Mavericks might have gotten out of all this is Max Christie, who's actually played pretty well. It's remarkable how bad that trade was. Everything that the Mavericks did leading up to it, because they didn't do anything. You know, they didn't try to get a market going for Luka Doncic and see what else you could get. It was really it just keeps looking worse and worse.
Well, the West to me, and we'll see if it develops into something, but to me, it's OKC and the rest. I know there are some other good teams out there, but the East is fascinating this year, Sean. Look, Detroit looks really good right now, particularly defensively, and they obviously have a good young core of talent. The Knicks, we'll see what they are by the time they arrive, but I don't think the regular season is always indicative of what a team's going to be like in the playoffs, and they certainly look pretty good in the playoffs last year. Obviously, you have the Celtics who are hanging in there despite their injuries and maybe an eventual return of Jason Tatum. Break it down for me. I mean, how do you see the East playing out? I mean, the regular season might be one thing, but I think the playoffs are always a different animal.
Yeah, and look, I still thought this even as the Knicks were going through the 2-9 stretch that they had there, that their own problem was themselves, that they still have the best roster. You know, this is the best roster in the Eastern Conference. They have not played up to it. You can pick your reason why. Is it Karl Anthony Towns? Is it the coach? Whatever. I think the Knicks are still the best team in the East. They're the ones best designed to go out and win that thing. The Pistons, the experience level, the fact that, yes, they're a very good defensive team, but at times in the playoffs, and you guys know this, you're going to need a bucket. So who do you go to? Is Cade Cunningham that guy? And if you shut him off, do they have somebody else who can really get you that bucket? That's the big concern for me. Toronto is an interesting team. Toronto's played much better than anyone had expected. They need a move. They need to do something here at the trade deadline. So in the next week, we'll see if they come in with some kind of major transaction, because I think they're close. They've got the depth and they've got the pieces to make a run. They need somebody else though. So I think that's sort of my dark horse to watch, and we'll see what happens with the Celtics. Obviously it's been a great season no matter what. Jason Tatum showing some wishy-washiness now on whether he'll come back. I think that gives you an indication that that where they are right now might be the ceiling. Like this might be, they might be a second round team that is plucky and you don't want to play, but can't quite finish the deal. So I think that's where things stand. In the end, I still think the Knicks are the favorites.
I'm sorry, Boy Green. It's been a nice run.
We'll see what happens, pal. All right. There's a lot of time.
Sean, I have full confidence the Knicks are going to mess this thing up. They're going to go for the gusto, try and get Giannis. They're going to trade everybody that I just said not to trade, and it's going to be a disaster. It's just the way it is in Knickland. I expect it. Frankly, if it doesn't happen, I'll be shocked. That's the truth, because we know good old Jimmy Dolan over there will somehow, some way get involved in this nonsense and put his stamp on the Knicks, which is always a stamp of ruin. That's what it says on that stamp. Yeah. We're ruining it.
They've acted like a normal franchise. As you said, they've acted like a normal franchise for about 6 or 7 years now.
It's almost we're due to blow up now, Sean.
It's got to be hard on Dolan to do that, to act normal for this long.
It's like you've asked a kid to be silent, they've been like in trouble, and you're like, all right, you got to be silent for the next 20 minutes. And they're like busting. And then as soon as the 20 minutes are up, they're like, yeah. Right? That's James Dolan. He just can't get out of his own way, which is why I refer to him as the worst owner in sports. And I will stick with that until he proves me wrong otherwise. Sean Deveney, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. We'll chat with you again next week.
Okay. Thanks, guys.